Welcome, everybody. First up, we've got our Pledge of Allegiance, and Lowell Smith, if you would unmute yourself and wait for the flag to appear on the screen, and then lead us in the pledge, please. Lowell, will you unmute?
Is the flag up?
Yeah, the flag's up, Mike.
Okay.
Everything's good. Except Lowell's just got to unmute. He's working on it. He'll get it.
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, let's go to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lowell. And I've asked our treasurer this year, Jim Bates, to give us the thought for the day.
This is from Will Rogers. We will never have true civilization until we have learned to recognize the rights of others.
Thank you, Jim. That was great. Jim Spillman, you want to fill us in on the raffle rules today?
Sure. Daryl, you need to pay special attention here. Everybody on this Zoom is eligible for this raffle. So you need to select a number greater than 1,000, less than 2,000, write it down, and at the end, we'll let Excel pick the winning number. Whoever's closest will win a 25er.
Thank you, Jim. And Jim, you have an announcement for today, correct?
Yeah, I've got a couple of announcements. I wanted to thank everyone for the cards that they've sent to Diane and I for the passing of her father. And on a different note, I wanted to thank the club for the tremendous support that we've given to partnering up with North Marin Community Service Food Bank. We donated over $5,000 worth of food to them, and we've had over 20 members donating over 100 hours of time to support that effort. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for your leadership with our community service group this year. You've just been outstanding, notwithstanding the challenges that everybody's faced. So great job again. And Gloria, I'm gonna have to unmute Gloria. There you go.
Okay, we have a great project coming up. We, together with the other Nevada Rotaries, will be planting trees at IVC one day, the first week in May. I'll let you know the day. Our club has funded, and Bresketron has contributed, and some of the other clubs have contributed, and the district has contributed. So we're going to plant 48 to 50 trees. And if you're interested, there'll be a notice in the bulletin. Please email me and let me know you want to plant trees first week of May. That's
And
it.
This is the first project of our environmental sustainability team, correct?
Correct. That is, thank you. Yes.
Great. And thank you, Gloria, for stepping up and leading that team. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other announcements off the top of, don't see any sunshine report. That's good news. So we're going to have a little poll. Robert Marshall has asked to do a little brief presentation about Marin Clean Energy. And before we do that, we're going to take a little poll about Marin Clean Energy. So I'm going to launch this poll, and you are, we've done this before several times. So give us some time to go through and answer the question. Don't submit until the very end. I think there's 6 questions here. So go right ahead and can everybody see the poll? You nod your head. Okay.
It looks like the results. It's not the actual poll.
Yeah, well, this is the poll.
know.
Marin Clean Energy.
I know, I'm just looking at it and it won't let you click on anything.
So Robert, you're a host. So
Oh,
you
okay, so that's
can't
why I'm seeing that.
participate.
Cool.
So there's
All right.
about 6 hosts in this meeting. None of them can participate in the poll.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate the update.
We've got a few minutes where we've got 37 participants, or about a third of the way through.
They may not have the capability to do it electronically. I don't know.
Mine wouldn't let me give an answer to the last question, and I can't submit anything.
I don't know what to tell you, Larry. It's
Well, Larry, we'll give you the information anyway. So if you want information about Marin Clean Energy, you're going to get it today anyway.
okay. We're almost done. We've got 29 of 38 voted, 76%. So. Give it a few more seconds. Okay, Robert, we've got 84% voted, 32 of 38 eligible screens. You good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with
Okay.
that.
So we're going to end the poll, and then I'll share the results so you can all see what the results are. So
And can I just talk through it real quick here while they're looking at the results, Chris?
yeah, go right ahead.
All right, real quick. So it looks like 9 of the total polls taken are actual Marin Clean Energy customers. So 23 of you are not. Everybody feels that they're a PG&E customer. No matter whether you are Marin Clean Energy or PG&E, you are a PG&E customer. It just depends where you buy your electricity from. Who's the generation? Is it Marin Clean Energy's generating it, or is it PG&E that's generating it? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So everybody is truly a PG&E customer. And it looks like a bunch of you would like to participate in reducing your use of fossil fuels. There's a few who don't care or not really sure, but that's okay. And, you know, would you switch to Marin Clean Energy if the price was cheaper than PG&E? And 22 of you said, yes, you'll do that. So I've got great news for you today. And if you'd like to be 100% renewable, I've even got better news for you today. So that's fantastic that 14 of you are interested in that. And if you want to switch, I've got that for you today. So real quick, the poll looks good. You can go ahead and stop sharing it. I'm going to screen share real quick here. I promised Chris I'd try to keep this really short. And I'm going to share some trying to. Why is it not sharing my desktop? Screen share. Are you guys seeing my desktop at all?
No.
No, maybe the host has to let you be a host.
He has let me be a host already, and for some reason now I'm not sure why. I'm clicking on desktop and share, and it's not sharing. So we'll punt. So I'm going to go ahead and move all this into the chat so that you all will get the information, and I'm going to just take it, like I said, a minute here, and I'll share it with you. So the reality of it is that Marin Clean Energy actually sells electricity for less than PG&E in all accounts. And what it's confusing a little bit, because PG&E actually is the one who transfers the funds transfers the electricity to us. And generation is a very small part of the bill. You know, you have the opportunity, and I'm clicking around on my screen trying to find that document, but they're not showing for me. You have the opportunity to switch, and an example would be that PG&E charges around 11 cents a kilowatt for electricity when it's Marin Clean Energy is at 8 to 9 cents in all cases, whether you're 60% or whether you're 100%, you know, deep green Marin Clean Energy. And then there's a third area, which is called local sol, which is an actual solar array that's here in Novato that is 100% locally produced clean energy that you can get here in Novato. So that's just an incredible opportunity. So if you thought that going to Marin Clean Energy would be more expensive, it's actually less. And whether you get 60% renewable or 100% renewable, if you go to 100% local, that is about even, maybe a little bit more expensive. So I encourage you to take a look at what I'm going to put into the chat and click on the links. There's some great videos in there. There's some great information. There is a link that you can click on that gives you a comparison from PG&E to Marin Clean Energy. Our goal here as the environmental and sustainability team in Novato is to get as many people, or in Novato Rotary, is to get as many people as possible to consider and switch to Marin Clean Energy. And I'm going to end there, Chris, because I said I was going to keep this short.
Thanks, Robert. I sure appreciate it. And thanks for putting that together. Unfortunately, the screen share didn't work, but
I apologize for that.
we can look at it in the chat and we could send it out to everyone as well. So
yes, I will go ahead and put it in the chat, and I'll send it to Reggie so she can send it out to everybody. And then if anybody has questions, I'm always available to answer questions.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Chris.
And again, that's part of our environmental sustainability team. And Robert wanted to share that with everyone. Okay, so we received some sad news a couple of weeks ago that Dr. John Elway had passed away. And so we thought it appropriate to provide a brief tribute to Dr. Elway. Russ Ketron is going to lead this off, and Mike, you were going to share a photo of Dr. Elway for us. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, hopefully you can screen share with Bob Tuttle while I'm making a few remarks.
Okay.
I was thinking back that great Heisman Trophy running backs need solid linemen to help open up that line so that they can make the great plays. Many of us on this screen and many others have acted in that role for Dr. John, especially in his many Rotary accomplishments. Hopefully you'll be able to read the summary that was prepared and will be sent out next week, talking about his many international immunizations, education, wheelchair, and other projects. John's Rotary Top Service Above Self Award and International End Polio Awards and his major donor status were well deserved. So we don't even have time to go through all this stuff, but bottom line is that I'm going to call on a couple of Rotarians to give their brief comments on Dr. John. So first, I'd like to, I didn't hear, did you say you have something, Mike has to say something?
Do you have can you see his photo?
Yes, we did. Mike shared a photo of Dr. John.
Okay, thank you. I missed that. So first, I'd like to have our famous host of Marty's Moments, our past president, Marty Wickenheiser, give us a few remarks. Marty?
Okay, so I knew John, of course, through Rotary, but he became my primary care physician. And I really loved him as a doctor. He spent tons of time with me. And I very briefly said to him one day, I said, "You are a brilliant diagnostician." And I knew he
I can't hear Marty. Can anyone else?
Okay, try it again.
You mean start over?
Start over.
I'm so sorry. What I was going to say is that, of course, I met John through Rotary, but he became my primary care physician. And
Looks like everybody got muted.
There.
okay, can you hear me now? No.
Well, then it just mutes over here.
Marty, you're still muted. Russ, you're muted as well.
So Robert, why don't you go ahead and you've got some screen share and some remarks that you wanted to make. Why don't you go right ahead? And
Okay. That's interesting. There we go. Dr. John Ellaway and I met in Nevada. I lived in Nevada for 18 years and met him through the Nevada Club. I happened to be at that time, I was in the Marin Sunrise Club and wanted to quickly go over some different things that John and I worked on. He asked me to be a Rotary volunteer and to go to the Ukraine with him. And I was at a point where I was working at Kaiser and doing some international work. So I said, sure. So we went from San Francisco to Germany and then to Lviv and in the Ukraine. And John's focus was polio and preventive medicine. And my purpose there was to give talks on medical informatics or computers in medicine. And so essentially what we did was we went to medical teaching colleges throughout the country. And I taught about medical informatics, and John talked about preventive medicine. One of the little unknown facts is that we actually took 2 suitcases full of polio vaccine that John got from Canada. We took to the Ukraine, and it was very interesting. When we landed in Lviv, there was a Rotarian that was sitting right next to me, and we told him, well, we hope we don't have any trouble getting through customs. And he said, well, just be the last people off the plane. And so we waited, went off the plane, and as we walked to the entrance area, I saw this Rotarian, and all of the people that were there just waved us right through, luggage, everything. They didn't open anything. So the power of Rotary really speaks to you when you do something like that. John and I then went to Washington and met with Bill Gates Sr. about polio and what we were doing as an infectious disease data collection system for the Ukraine, because the Ukraine had experienced cholera, and more than 100,000 people died. And so the idea was to put together a system that would work for that. We also met with Bill and Melinda Gates because they were just starting the Gates or thinking about the Gates Foundation. And because I was a Microsoft tester and did a lot of stuff with Microsoft, we were hoping that they would kick in some funds to help out. Our second trip, we went from SFO to Warsaw, Poland, and then we were supposed to get a flight from Poland, from Warsaw to Lviv, but they ended up canceling that flight. So we drove from Warsaw to Lviv, and we had David Cresson, who was the DG 9798, was with us on that trip. And it was quite an interesting experience because John's comment was, we hit this area for the border between Poland and Ukraine, and John said, well, just drive by that 2 miles worth of trucks and everything else, because we should be able to go right through. And so anyway, there's a lot more to that story, but I mean, we made it to Lviv, and then we took a train ride from Lviv to Kiev. And then earlier on, David ended up going back to the United States, and John and I went down to Odessa and back. So it was quite a trip. Our big thing in Kiev was to look at putting together the program for the 3H grant, and then also looking at the Lue Pasteur building there. So we had worked with the Minister of Health, and they said that we could use the Lue Pasteur building as our base. And so we visited the building and told them that we wanted to use that building as our base. While we were in the Ukraine, we met with Dr. Scott McNabb, who was the representative from the CDC, and told him about our idea to collect data on infectious and contagious disease, which he was actually quite happy about hearing about. When we ended up going back to the United States, we visited Atlanta, Georgia, thanks to Alan Gula and Dr. McNabb, to talk to them about infectious and disease data collection. We also met with President Carter and his wife about the possibility of getting funding from Habitat for Humanity. So we were doing a lot of footwork that primarily was set up by Dr. Alloway. Our third trip, we flew directly to Kiev. We did a couple of different things. We did some more work at the Lue Pasteur building. We ended up going to a clinic that was there and a couple of other things. So it was a really good trip. The Lue Pasteur building, we worked with USAID because the government said that we had to have USAID's permission to use the building. And unfortunately, USAID said no. They said that we weren't a recognized a government organization. So as a result, that fell through. Another visit was to the clinic outside of Kiev, which was being sponsored by the church and Loma Linda University. And we went there and spent time looking at their floor plans and working with them on how to make that facility better. In conclusion, provide systems and software design information. We provided that to HMO and CDC. The clinic outside Kiev is operational. The children in Ukraine received polio vaccine a number of different times. WHO is providing the go.data contact tracing software free for any country or organization that wishes to use it. And that software and platform is virtually exactly the same as what we had proposed and what we worked on. So I'm very happy that they did that. I'm not happy about the fact that the United States decided generally not to use that, and that our past president of the United States decided to cut ties with WHO. Dr. John Ellaway was really the architect of most of this and deserves really all of the credit because he kept the ball rolling the whole time. So I'm very happy to have known John, to have worked with him, and I know that he's looking down on us right now and with a smiley face.
Thank you, Russ. You want to wrap it up? You're gonna have to unmute there, Russ.
You're muted, Russ.
Doesn't look like he's able to unmute. Is that, there we go.
There you
All
go.
right. Yeah. In conclusion, there are many examples. I didn't have time to, we don't have time to go through, but to talk about the generous contributions that Mary Ann and John gave to Rotary and to make our world just a far better place, both locally and globally. So rest in peace, Dr. John, for a lifetime of service above self.
Thank you, Russ. I apologize to everyone for the technical difficulties. John was really a mover and shaker in the Rotary world and helped so many people. And I had the privilege to be inducted during John's year as president of Rotary Club of Novato. We're going to really miss him. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him for the last 18 months due to his illness, but he certainly did a lot for Rotary and the world. And thanks to his family for joining us today as well. And a lot of dignitaries are with us. So thank you. Okay, we'll move into our program, and Alan Dunham is going to introduce our speaker. Alan, would you unmute and then go right ahead?
Chris, there's a message on, I think, everyone's screen saying the host has asked you to start your video. Can you see that?
I don't see that.
I just got a couple of text messages. Other people have seen that as well. They stopped the video.
Okay.
And I'm only seeing half the images on the screen.
Okay. I don't know what occurred, Mike, but I know that everybody went blank for a short bit of time. So again, welcome to the Zoom world, and
Okay. Good luck.
yeah. So Alan Dunham, are you able to unmute and
Probably can't hear you.
there
There,
you go,
okay,
Alan.
okay,
Great.
okay. Okay, well, thank you, Chris. It's my pleasure to introduce Bob Kuchem. Bob is a longtime friend, and he is going to talk today about the Peace Center Fellowships. He's the chairman for the district. He's a member of the Rotary Club of Devoto Sunrise, been a Rotarian for 28 years, and has been serving as the district Peace Center chairperson for the last 2 years. He'll explain what the Peace Center Fellowships are and how our club can become involved in that. And Bob is a really great friend outside of Rotary, and have a lot of empathy for him because I had that position for a number of years too. So anyway, I'm happy that he's doing that program, and so here's Bob. Welcome, Bob.
The Rotary Peace Center Fellowships has been doing a lot of good because it's been educating people who can go out and create peaceful situations in the world and resolve conflicts. But I think there's also an opportunity for a club to look at it. And that's where I have the slide up now. It's an opportunity to create a global impact, a growth opportunity for you and your club if you decide to make it so. Can you see this slide?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk briefly about the Rotary Foundation's areas of focus. This great organization known as the Foundation, they have offered these ideas, promoting peace, fighting disease, etc. If I ask any one of you, what is perhaps the one that you're most familiar with? My guess is you're going to say fighting disease because the Polio Plus program has been promoted so well. Am I correct? Would you raise your hand if that was the one that you thought of when you thought of something that the foundation has done? Fighting disease is important. Promoting peace, virtually everything that your club does for the local schools, for the community, for the various programs that your club has done in the Philippines and Mexico and so forth. It may have been to fight disease, but it also is promoting peace because it helps people feel that their needs are being taken care of. Excuse me just a minute. Guys. Now, I'm sorry, I'm such a klutz with this all of a sudden. The idea is the Rotary Foundation wanted to create a cadre of well-trained persons to work around the world. I used to include cities like, you named the hot spot in the world. I changed it not too long ago. San Francisco and Oakland, those are places that need peace too. And the idea is provide those persons with the academic credentials by sending them to acknowledged universities so that they then become people that other organizations want to hire to go out and do the good work that they could. The idea is prepare the cadre at universities. And there's two different programs that we do with the Peace Center Fellowships. One is essentially a 2-year program where a person chosen studies for a master's degree in peace building and conflict topics. And the other is a 1-year program, actually it's less than a year now, to do a professional development certificate. As you can see there, the universities for the master's degree include one in individual countries. The one in the United States is Duke and the University of North Carolina, a collaborative effort. That used to be California, Berkeley, and that's what Alan was referring to a moment ago. For various reasons, Berkeley dropped out and that role has been taken up by Duke. University of Bradford in the United Kingdom has one of the oldest peace building curriculum in universities around the world. If you drew a straight line between London and Glasgow, it's about halfway there in Yorkshire. Uppsala University, that's an 800-year-old university in Sweden that's devoted much of its work to peace building. And then there's Queensland in Australia and the International Christian University in Tokyo. The professional development certificate has been handled at the university in Thailand. Chulalongkorn, hard name to say. I'm sure you haven't seen them on the basketball brackets, but they're a university too. They were founded in the late 1800s and dedicated to be along Western University guidelines. The most recent one is Makerere University, our first university in sub-Saharan Africa. And I understand there's a lot of work being done to bring yet another university in, someone in the Middle East, possibly the American University in Cairo. Moving along here. Okay. Where do the Peace Center Fellows work following their studies? If you look at the blue map, and I understand the contrast makes it a little difficult to read on the screen, but you can see it's a map of the world. And essentially it's showing where several years ago, Rotary Peace Center Fellows were off to do their particular work. For example, over here in the area of Brazil and Paraguay, there's about 24 at work. There are some 50 or 60 in the area of Liberia and Cote d'Ivoire. In the United States, there's 193 Peace Center Fellows. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple of them in a moment. Over here, you see that most of them are working for non-governmental organizations, GMOs such as Amnesty International, Oxfam, or the International Red Cross. But you can see also, according to this survey, about 8 are teachers, 6% United Nations, 3% police and law enforcement, World Bank, etc. Now, you may already know some persons who could apply for these fellowships. That one reason I'm doing this right now and have been trying to get on your schedule is that May 15th is the deadline for applications for people that want to apply to be able to go a year from now to a university. I'm going to tell you about several of these people that I've gotten to meet. Ashley is a lady who is a Bay Area native. She went to college back in New York and ended up working at the United Nations, doing various things involving peace, and eventually was writing speeches for people. She heard about the program some years ago. She applied, she was accepted. She went to Chulalongkorn in Bangkok, Thailand. While she was there, she became familiar with that part of the world, which had been new to her, and she's particularly aware of the country of Myanmar, which you and I grew up in school knowing as Burma. Myanmar is right alongside the eastern edge of Thailand. She told me that she was disturbed by things that were going on there. So when she had a couple of weeks off during school, she went over there. I happened to ask her, how did you do that? Can you fly from there? And she says, no, I had a backpack and I hiked in. And I thought, wow, that's pretty good. I'd like to know more about this lady. She did some good things there. She was hired at that time, the military government had been done away with, and we're talking several years back. And a lady named Aung San Suu Kyi, you've probably seen her pictures in the papers. She came in to lead democracy and a democratic government in that part of the world. And they've had their problems, but her job was working with the individual people who had never had any democratic background. And these are the people who were going to serve in the new government under her. Ashley did a great job. D.F. Pace, you may have read about in one of the Rotarian magazines. I had never met him, but I read his article, Policeman in Philadelphia. And he was just saying in the article in the Rotarian magazine that he learned things that really helped him when he went back and worked on the streets in Philadelphia. I placed a call to the Philadelphia Police Department. I didn't know if I'd ever reach him or not. I left my name. Sure enough, the next day he called me back and we had a long chat. He told me that indeed he did learn things that had greatly helped him. And not only that, it helped him to be promoted. He's been promoted twice since then. He's now an inspector in the country's 5th largest police force. But the things that he learned, he told me that he wasn't getting anywhere else. If you have police friends, I have a number of them, perhaps you do too. You know, one of the highlights of their career seems to be going to the police academy, which is offered each year in Quantico, Virginia by the FBI. Well, Pace had been there also. And I asked him, well, how did it compare? And he said, well, they're both great, but they teach different things. He says, I'm just telling you what I got it has really helped me in Philadelphia. Maybe it can help some of your people in the Bay Area. And the last person I wanted to mention is Jeffrey. Now, Jeffrey is a high school teacher in San Francisco. You and I have always, we've been to meetings where there's been a lot of San Francisco people there. And if eventually the conversation gets around to say, well, what high school did you go to? What are the ones you hear of? Galileo, Lowell, SI. No, Jeffrey wasn't teaching there. Jeffrey's been teaching at the Woodside Learning Center, which I went to watch a couple of his classes when he entered his application. Jeffrey is teaching incarcerated kids at what essentially was the San Francisco Juvenile Hall, and he's still doing that. He knows the problems with creating peace amongst the people. How did he find out about the Rotary Peace Center Fellowships? Did somebody from club number 2 or one of the other clubs there tell him? No. Turned out about 3 or 4 years ago, he went on his own dime to India to attend an international peace conference. While he was there at a coffee breakout session, he was talking to some guys from Australia who happened to be Rotarians. They're the ones that told him about it. And so when he got back, he applied. Applications have to go to districts first. They came to us. He is officially on his application. He was recommended officially by the Rotary Club of Sydney, but it was the Rotary District 5150 that interviewed him, endorsed him, and he was approved to go to the university in Bangkok. That was before COVID began. Last year, of course, he had to put that on hold. And so we've got our fingers crossed that he'll be able to go this year. Meanwhile, I've been keeping in touch with him. He's doing some great things. I've also talked to the number 2 club and some other clubs in San Francisco. I'm telling him, you know, whether or not COVID ever lets him go there, he's doing good things. I hope you guys will help him out to the extent that you can. You need to know a few important details, and you're apt to forget some of these. Really, you can find them out, however, by going to the Rotary International website. Also, I happen to know where Dr. Insomnia's, Starbucks, and Pete's are, and I'd be happy to meet with you, any of you, to tell you more. The important things are you cannot be an active Rotarian, that is dues paying within the last 3 years. You cannot be an active Rotarian or a child of an active Rotarian and apply. And applicants, they have to show some skin in the game, really. They have to show that they already have been working in the area of peace building and conflict resolution. It takes 3 years of actual experience, paid or unpaid, to qualify for the 2 years master's degree program. It takes 5 years for the 1 year certificate program. What does the fellowship do? It covers the whole thing, the whole cost: tuition, books, room and board, travel. There's no personal debt to the student. And in order to do this, neither the district nor your club has to contribute to it. You certainly can if you want, but otherwise the thing is entirely funded by the Rotary Foundation. Important dates. And this is for the school year that will begin a year out from now, because it takes that long to plan ahead. Advise me as soon as you know about anyone you met who might possibly be interested in this. I will help you talk with them and see if this is a good person to apply. And the completed applications have to be into the foundation by May 15th. Now, I got my fingers crossed that any of you may have anyone for the applications that are due next month. I understand that, but you've got 13 months to get ready for the year after that. So I hope you keep your eyes and ears open in this cosmopolitan area of the Bay Area. Gosh, I know you know people or meet people who probably could do this. What am I asking your club to do? Well, first of all, be proud. Take some pride in it. And if you're proud about it, you guess what? You're going to talk about it. Teach your club's members about it, especially new members coming in. Look for persons who should apply. Here's an idea, Chris, maybe appoint a Rotary Peace Center chair for your club. You let me know who he or she is, and I will keep in touch with them. You've already done what the next thing is, schedule a Rotary Peace Center speaker, but I'd be happy to come back at any time. I wanted to talk about Rotary's future, and it involves one of your own club members, Russ Ketron. Back in October 2 years ago, Jane had just contacted me and said, yeah, I can take over as the chair. And she invited me to a meeting that was being held for all of her staff down in South San Francisco. Russ Ketron was there. In fact, I hadn't seen him for some time. And I was asked to get up and talk about the Rotary Peace Center. I knew very little about him, but I mentioned it. And I was talking about how peace was important. Russ got up, and you see there the quote that he said, which I remembered: "The day will come when Rotary will have successfully completed its Polio Plus mission, and then the signature hallmark of Rotary will be peace." Thank you, Russ, for saying that, and thank you for letting me show that to people. So what I'm asking, guys, is encourage your club's members to actively seek new applicants for this program. It's a good program. There's a lot more that you can learn about it, and I'll take time with you to do that. I sincerely apologize for my klessing on the Zoom technique here, but if we have any time left, Chris, I'll be glad to take any questions.
Absolutely, Bob. I appreciate the presentation. If you would stop sharing, and then we'll take questions for Bob. If you want to raise your hand.
There we go.
We'll call on you. Any questions for Bob at this point in time? Let's see, I know Jane, you must have a question.
Actually, it's not a question, but first off, Bob, thank you. I think that was a very informative presentation. He mentioned that Rotary is going to establish a new peace center, probably in the Middle East. What's significant about that is that that peace center is going to be established because there was a very generous Rotarian who just last month committed $15 million to create that peace center. So I think we're just really fortunate to have those kinds of dedicated Rotarians who also have those kinds of resources. So I mean, it's a really impressive opportunity. And one of the things that you can do is you can post the scholarship on LinkedIn and then ask your other club members to share that LinkedIn announcement about it. And it's just a real easy way to promote the fellowship. So thank you, Bob. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jane. Any other questions for Bob? See if we have anybody who's raising their hand. Yes, David Jones.
Yeah, with the Dunhams, we sponsored several Peace Fellows going to University of California, Berkeley, housing, how they were doing with grades. And then we'd go to the meetings they had when they were graduating, getting that degree. And they talked about what they wanted to accomplish. Very impressive. They went to peace centers, but I'd be interested in any of them talking about peace is a huge concept. How do you accomplish something in peace without working with powerful leaders in these countries where all the uprisings are occurring? But I'd be very interested in contacting these Peace Fellows from way back, and maybe they're talking about something they actually accomplished. I know working at the Peace Center is an accomplishment, working here, but accomplishment is an important word. And I know what a daunting task to accomplish anything in the way of peace today, but I'd be interested in what they had to say, and that might encourage applicants. Boy, I could get something done in this way. Maybe small, but it's an important step.
Thank you, David. Thank you. I promise I'll call you. We can explore that some more.
Is there, Bob, is there a program now where Peace Center graduates can speak to clubs?
Yes, in general, when the people finish their assignment in another country, they're encouraged to be helpful and respond to local Rotary clubs to give talks and so forth. I need to pursue more of that in the Bay Area here, perhaps starting with my friend Ashley. She's down in the South Bay now. I understand what you're saying. I'll see what we can do to remedy that.
Bob,
Hey, Wayne, you had a question?
Bob, thanks for that presentation. I'm wondering, you had three kind of diverse people that you gave examples of. Are there some common characteristics, common things that link these scholars together that you'd be looking for in a person, in a candidate?
Well, I just went through the basic requirements. I would say the most significant one, though, is they have to already have from 3 to 5 years experience, hopefully in a full-time position, either paid or voluntary. They have to be able to show for at least 3 to 5 years, like my high school teacher down in San Francisco, that they've been doing everything they can to create a peaceful situation. Other than that, I'm not sure what to tell you. You can keep your eyes posted in your Rotarian magazine. 2 or 3 times a year, they have articles in there on people. And Jay, I've made copies of some of those. If you want, I'll send some to you. Maybe you can share them with your club.
Right, okay.
Our last question, Holly, you had a question, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna let Bob know that there is a Peace Fellow network online. So he might be able to use that. I don't know if you've looked at it, Bob, but
Yeah,
they might be able. Now I'm in contact with some of the people from the Cal class, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So we probably lost track of a lot of them, including the staff that worked there. But we might be able to find a few for you if you want.
Okay, thank you. Well, remember, guys, it's May 15th. If you got anybody already in mind, they ought to be applying. It's not a simple application. The ones I saw last year ran about 30 to 40 pages each. So if you can't find someone for this May 15th, start looking now to get someone who can apply a year from now.
Thank you, Bob, for the informative presentation. We'll get a speaker's gift out to you. I'm sure Alan has your address that we could send that to. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks again for everyone who participated in the tribute to Dr. Ellaway. I'm sorry that our technical difficulties interrupted that. But be on the lookout for the write-up that Russ did, which should either be in the bulletin or available by email. Our raffle winner, Jim Spillman.
The winning number is 1531.
Okay, who's closest?
1492.
1492.
Dean, you're on mute.
I have 1527.
I have 1550.
1531.
1531.
Yeah.
Who's got it?
Phil.
I got it. Me.
Bill, on the money. Wow. Bill Brown is the winner.
You got beat.
Thank you very much. Okay, just want to acknowledge we had 44 screens today, so thanks everybody for participating. And a load of guests, past District Governor Jane Holbert, Bob Kuchem, Robert Tuttle, Vicki McDill, Sandy Bates, Roberta Dunham, Dwight Ellaway,
Oh, Jesus.
former member and Lincoln, California Rotary Club President Daryl Scott, Duncan McSwain, Catherine Ketron, and John Rauscher. So thank you all for attending, and hopefully I didn't miss anybody. I'll leave the Zoom room open if you want to carry on the conversation for a little bit. And remember, next week's meeting, April 16th, is Neil Leahy talking about investing after the pandemic. So it should be informative as well. With that, we'll